Good morning, 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So glad to be back. Thank you for having me once again. Shout out to Des Dickerson for filling in for me yesterday. Really appreciate him jumping in when I had to be at my son's kindergarten graduation. Didn't want to be anywhere else. So thank you to Des. Had a blast yesterday with my boy Brooks. Congratulations to him graduating kindergarten.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's something you only want to happen once, you know?
That's true.
And he did it. First try. Knocked it out of the park. Super proud of him. Hey, on the way, we have Tim Burchett coming in. I don't know if you've heard, but Thomas Massie has introduced legislation that seeks to end the Federal Reserve. So, of course, our own Congressman, Tim Burchett, he's co-sponsoring the bill. H.R. 8421, the Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act. It abolishes the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve and its banks, and it'll also repeal the Federal Reserve Act, the 1913 law that created the Federal Reserve System. So in announcing this move, Massie said Americans would be better off without the Fed. He's blamed the Fed for the rapid inflation. He's blamed the Fed for the devaluing of the dollar. And he said Americans are suffering under crippled inflation and the Federal Reserve is to blame. That's from his statement on Thursday. He said during COVID, the Federal Reserve created trillions of dollars out of thin air and loaned it to the Treasury Department to enable unprecedented deficit spending. By monetizing the debt, the Federal Reserve devalued the dollar and enabled free money policies that caused the high inflation we see today. Massie is introducing this. He's getting a lot of people on board, including Tim Burchett, who's going to join us on the way and tell us exactly why he's supporting Thomas Massie in this effort to end the Fed. I know that this gets a lot of people's jimmies rustled because people don't tend to like the Federal Reserve. It's neither federal nor reserve. So we're going to talk to Tim Burchett about why he's supporting that on the way. We got a lot more on the show, including Joe Biden at the NAACP dinner this past weekend, plus an epic interview with Marco Rubio and Kirsten Welker from Meet the Press, which is just fantastic. So we'll cover all that and more. Anything you want to talk about, 615-737-9986. We're going to jump to break early because we got Tim Burchett calling in at 9:15. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responds to the International Criminal Court seeking an arrest warrant for him in the war in Gaza. And I'm seeing we just had a major new development in the hush money trial of former President Trump. Details at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 9:15 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And the man who is the latest that Tim Burchett will ever be is on time. I'm convinced of this because he's always early. He's always there. Congressman Tim Burchett, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Tim?
Hey, just glad to be on with you guys. I miss Nashville. I miss Arnold's, my favorite restaurant, but I miss a lot of things about Nashville.
Arnold's, and where's Arnold's in Nashville? I haven't been there.
Dude, you are probably getting ready to get covered up with calls. I don't even know the streets. I just follow my nose, and it puts me there. I've been 16 years in the legislature. I think I ate there about 18 of those years. Every time I go back, it's the same thing. I get the roast beef, double greens, get a roll, and then they've got this crazy chocolate pie that has like hot pepper in it, or something. It's the craziest thing. It doesn't sound like it'd work, but it is the best. But take your pocketbook with you. It's not cheap.
Well, nothing is cheap in this economy.
Nothing. It just gets worse. $600 more a month, average Americans putting out right now under Bidenomics.
And I'm actually interested to talk to you about you co-sponsoring this effort by Thomas Massie to end the Fed. It seems like you guys are pointing at the Fed and saying you're the reason for inflation. Can you explain to me what this effort is and why you feel it's so important?
Well, to understand the Fed, it was created in 1917. Actually, Hamilton wanted to create a centralized bank, and that's really what it is. It's a bunch of unelected bureaucrats, and basically they're the people that you suspect when a lot of things happen in the world. They're usually the behind-the-scenes string pullers. And they continuously, they advise printing more cash. It's like when you have a glass of sweet tea that's half full and then you fill it, you start adding water to it. That's exactly what they do. They've overseen the Depression in the 30s, the 20s. They did the recession, First World War. They doubled prices. They sort of ran herd over that. Second World War, they did the same thing. We've had, I think, 9,000 bank failures, and Canada hasn't had any, and they don't have a central bank. It's just more control. I wished we could get some grip over this. Some of the top economists in the world, Friedman and some of the others, agree we need to do away with the Fed. It's not working, and our inflation is just going out of sight. And these are the unelected bureaucrats that advise the president on what to do, and they set our interest rates arbitrarily, and they're wrecking our economy if it's not already wrecked. And I just think we need to get out from under it. Do I think the bill will go anywhere? It might in the House, maybe. It'll die in the Senate. Schumer's, he's not going to upset the apple cart with the big boys. They're going to keep him in power as much as they can because he does everything they want.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Fed isn't a government institution. They're private. And then they loan money to the Treasury, and then we pay them interest on the loan, correct?
That is correct. They are not a government entity. Again, they are unelected bureaucrats who rule over us. It's the ruling class.
So if we get rid of the Fed, what goes in its place, Tim?
Free economy. We could go back to the gold standard. We could do whatever we choose. I just don't think that I just don't think they're a viable option, really. I'm sure some economists could get on here and debate with me and tell me why we need it, but I just don't think it's needed. It's not necessary. It's the same. And I remember when I was in the state legislature, somebody told me one time, he said, Burchett, you don't vote for bills, you vote for people. And you look at who's supporting those bills. And if you look at who's supporting the Fed right now in our world economy and these so-called world leaders or national leaders, they're not the people that are that are listening to this radio station right now.
No. And do you think that you guys are laying the groundwork for actually possibly getting something done if Trump wins the election in November?
100%.
Because he doesn't really get along with Jerome Powell, who's the chair of the Federal Reserve. No,
he doesn't. You've got a degree of arrogance there that is beyond belief. And, this is the money changers that are in the temple, man. We need to throw them out. We don't need to ask them to leave. We need to throw them out.
How did they get such a stranglehold on our economy?
Well, I think 1917 when they Woodrow Wilson put them in. I mean, he just gave them that power, and he created it, and it's unconstitutional. The framers of the Constitution even knew it was unconstitutional, yet some of them, the arrogance takes over. It's let us decide. We know what's best for you more than you do, kind of thing, and I just don't subscribe to that kind of mentality.
If we zoom out and you look at what the end of a second Trump presidential term looks like, do you see the Fed still being in place?
I see their power greatly diminished. I don't know how you get rid of some of these things. We talk about it, doing these things, but it's Washington, D.C. is so corrupt. I've said this many times. It's not a swamp. A swamp is an ecosystem created by God. Washington, D.C. is an open sewer, but we've allowed it to do it. They're taking it without a shot, both parties. You go to the money and everything, you got to raise money to be a chairman of a committee. That is the most ludicrous thing. You would think some people that can't raise any money because they're doing what's right and they're defying the odds, those people should be considered for somebody like a Thomas Massey. You'll never see him chair a major committee. The guy's MIT. He's got over 30 patents. He's a genius.
Yeah,
and he's an ethical guy, and he votes his conscience 100% of the time. And yet, the power brokers in Washington, the big boys that run, they just laugh at people like him. They can't stand him.
No, Massey
holds them accountable.
Massey's one of those guys where even if I disagree with him, I'm like, okay, well, I have to look more into this because a lot of times his compass is pointed in the right direction. But he says with the Fed that, Americans are seeing their savings and wages evaporate due to the Fed's actions.
Correct. You're correct. And back on Thomas Massey, I'll ask him sometime, why are you against this, Thomas? And he said, is it in the Constitution? And I said, no. And he goes, then we don't need it. And, we shouldn't be voting on it. And he's correct. He's correct. We're $35 trillion in debt. We had $1 trillion every 100 days now.
Yeah.
And the Fed is overseeing that. You got to realize a lot of the big boys, and I don't want to get too much into the conspiracy, but some of these people have made their money by literally money changing. Soros, for instance, he's always seems to be the one everybody points to. But the reality is he's wrecked economies to stay, apparently, from what I've read, that, to do what he does. And those are the kind of people that support the Fed because they want control. They want to wreck this economy because you know what? They'll buy it back for pennies on the dollar, and then they will control it.
It's wild to watch it in real time, and it seems like the majority of Americans have no idea what's going on. How do we wake them up to this, Tim?
Well, hunger and fear are the two greatest motivators I've ever found. And if prices keep going up, we're going to have a lot more hungry people. I would hope that people would go to the polls. Again, 20 million so-called evangelical Christians decided to stay home on Election Day, and that's why we have a guy in the White House who can't find a soft-serve ice cream machine and can't put a string of words together to make a cognitive sentence.
Yep.
And and that's who they're promoting again because the puppet masters will control him. And don't be so surprised when you see, you won't see the big name Republican money guys on his financial disclosure, but that's where you get the dark money. You've got the former speaker, for instance, he's got $17 million in an account that was given to him to run against Democrats for Republicans. But they gave that money and they put it into a dark account. Now, they're using that money against Republicans now, which, the veil is off. But they were using it before. I've talked to too many Republicans that are good, God-fearing people that, one of them's Greg Stubbe. He's an attorney. He's a veteran. And he's a super good person. He's a God-fearing American. He's a fine Christian guy. And, in his primary, they worked against him. And they can't stand having too many people like us.
No.
They'll do anything they can to destroy. They'll destroy families. They'll destroy businesses. They'll destroy humans to stay in power. And the Fed is at the tip of that spear because they control the economy. They control this inflation. And, they're always there to pick up the pieces. They're going to bail out this bank. If you remember that scene from It's a Wonderful Life, when they had the run on the bank and the old crooked old guy was buying up shares for 50 cents on the dollar, and Jimmy Stewart said, he's not buying, he's not selling, he's buying control. And that's exactly what the Fed does. Every time there's a dip in this economy, they water it down even more. And we're flipping down a very slippery slope, and we don't realize it. And it's going to be too late if we don't get to the polls and stop this nonsense.
Well, Congressman Tim Burchett, I really appreciate you, man. Always leading with your faith, voting with your conscience. We appreciate having you in there fighting for us.
Thank you, brother, and I appreciate y'all letting me do it. Honestly, I get a lot of support out of Middle Tennessee, even though it's not my district, and it's always good to hear from y'all. And thank you so much for putting the truth out there. And pray for our country.
We will. And also, I just want to let you know we have a text line here, our Members Nutrition text line, where people can send in texts. And I'm absolutely being roasted about not knowing about Arnold's.
I told you, you better get over there and better tell Rose.
All right.
You better beg for forgiveness.
I will. Next time you're in town, you, me, and Arnold's, you want to go hang out?
Does the Baptist Church have a bus? Yes, I do.
All right, perfect. Congressman Tim Burchett on the Newsmaker Hotline. Thank you, Congressman. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, brother. See you. Bye.
All right, later. It's 9:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So, sorry, I thought we were gonna.
No, we've got a couple more minutes till we go to Ken Weaver.
So I just hung up on the congressman. I thought we had to do commercials.
No, straight to news. This is why we did this.
I thought you meant we would do straight to news after the.
No, this is the one break. Yeah. Remember I told you to get back at 9:15. We have 15 minutes, which is.
This is what happens when I have a day off. I'm like all out of whack.
Brian's talked about Arnold's as well. I have never been.
You've never been to Arnold's?
I've never been to Arnold's either. So we should make this a thing.
We're gonna 3 wheels on this party bus.
I'm ready to go.
Let's
I
go.
want that chocolate pie with the pepper.
Yeah,
in it.
what was he talking about with the peppers? That sounds great.
Are you looking at the menu?
I am looking at the menu.
Mac's deciding on lunch right now.
Yeah, I really am. Hot pepper chocolate pie.
Yes, sir.
Woo!
I might not put peanut butter on that one.
Well, they got banana pudding, bread pudding, pecan pie, strawberry pie.
Oh, you know that. Oh, you know that banana pudding is good.
I might have to do the banana pudding. I'll try a bite of your hot pepper chocolate pie, though, Ken.
Okay.
Yeah, we can switch trade-off bites.
You get a bite, I get the rest of the pie.
It's like the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
You like how I did that?
Hey, we're back.
Bingo.
All right, so I did have this piece of Biden audio, which I saw it. I was like, well, I got to add this to the list.
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
Oh,
Matter of fact, the first organization I ever joined was the NAACP. Didn't get to vote till you were 21 in those days, but I got involved in civil rights when I was 15.
Did you know that the first organization Joe Biden joined was the NAACP? So we got the list. We got the running list, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's add this to the front. Give me a second. Okay.
My name's Joe Biden, and I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP.
All right.
Not three
Matter of
people.
fact, the first organization I ever joined was the NAACP.
I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community. I had a very close relationship with the Greek American community, for real. I am Joe Bidenopoulos. I grew up in a heavily Irish Catholic community in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and a heavily Italian Polish community. When I say I got raised in the black church, he knows I'm not kidding. The Persian culture is amazing. As a student of the Persian culture, I probably went to shul more than many of you. I come out of the black community. The background of my family is Irish American. Not fundamentally unlike the Palestinian people. I, you might say, raised in the synagogues of my state. Everyone in town was either Polish or Italian. I grew up feeling self-conscious. My name didn't end in an SKI. I was raised in a neighborhood where I felt self-conscious. My name didn't end in O. That's kind of how
he's one of us, guys. It doesn't matter which us you belong to. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Forget about it. That's right. That's where I got raised, man.
Just like rabbis, synagogues, and Jewish community centers in your hometown, and that's the tradition I got raised. Hard-working people.
9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Right now, there is a South Nashville school on lockdown while police look for a suspect. This is going to be STEM Academy. The district says the school is on lockdown while police look for this suspect. Full forecast in 2 minutes. We got a crash that's blocking the left 2 lanes of I-40 westbound right there at Spence Lane in Nashville. And right now in New York City, former President Trump not taking the stand in the hush money trial. His defense team has rested, setting up closing arguments next week after the Memorial Day holiday on Monday. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responds to the International Criminal Court chief prosecutor seeking an arrest warrant for him for the war in Gaza.
It's not serious. He's out to defame Israel, and he's also pouring gasoline on the fires of anti-Semitism that are spreading around the world.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. Hey, it's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store and the Shoot 270 ranges. I was kind of a newbie with what they have going on at the Glock store for a while, but not anymore. A couple weeks ago, had my first session, and I got to tell you, if you haven't done the Shoot 270 rooms, you're only doing lane range training, this is so different. So different. The Shoot 270 rooms are incredible. No lanes, no pains. It was just me and my instructor, Kevin, in a private room for an hour. I learned more. I learned more in that one session in the Shoot 270 range than I've learned in all of my lane range sessions put together. So I got to ask you, have you experienced the Shoot 270 indoor ranges? They're only at the Glock store. So if you haven't been to the Glock store, the quick answer is no. And the even quicker answer is why not? You got to get down there and experience the Shoot 270 indoor ranges. It will change how you train. And if you haven't seen them yet, June 1st is going to be a great time to check it out. Saturday, June 1st, is their 4th annual open house. So you've probably seen the billboards. I saw the billboards with the Glock that they're giving away. Gorgeous. But they're also giving away thousands of dollars of great raffle prizes. They're going to have fascinating political and two-way supporting speakers, and they're going to offer 2 of their most engaging shooting competitions with more great prizes. The Vortex Fast and Accurate stage, and then the Nightstick Low Light, No Light stage, which I'm excited to just watch. I saw some videos of them training in the low light, no light rooms. I cannot wait to do that at the Glock store. That's taking your training to the next level, and it's going to be fun to view. Plus, they're going to have incredible one-day-only prices on Glock handguns, performance part flash sales, and they're raffling off that custom Glock worth over $1,700 that day. That's the one I was talking about that you've seen on the billboard. Gorgeous, and you only have to be there to enter, not to win. The Glock store and Shoot 270, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, especially on June 1st. 9:39 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Joe Biden, did you know he's a lifelong member of the NAACP? I didn't. It's the first organization that he ever joined. It's amazing. Oh, give me a little audio.
And I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. Matter of fact, the first organization I ever joined was the NAACP. Didn't get to vote till you were 21 in those days, but I got involved in civil rights when I was 15.
Yep. So he's added another one to the list. So his speech at the NAACP dinner, it was one for the ages. The White House had to make a number of corrections to his speech, which I will cover for you in great detail. First, Ken in Nashville has a comment on Burchett. Ken, you're next on Super Talk.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on. First time I heard a congressman say this in a long time. Last one I heard say something like this was Ron Paul. He's absolutely right. He's a little bit mistaken on some of the facts, but that's okay. The Federal Reserve is one of the things you replace the Federal Reserve is our Constitution, because it plainly states who should control the currency of our country, of any nation. And most wars have been fought because of the currencies. You can go back, if you study the history, go back further than the Roman Empire, you can see where they had national banks and controlled the currency then. In fact, Rothschild said, whoever controls the currency controls the destiny of a country. So he's right. I'm glad to see a congressman talking about the Federal Reserve. It is a private bank. And of course, in 1913, when it was established by Aldrich, first director was Paul Warburg, who's out of the banking family out of Europe. He made $13,000 a year as the head of the Federal Reserve System in the United States. I mean, there's a lot you can learn just by a little bit of research, and most of our economic woes are caused by the private banking sources.
Hey, I
just want to pass that on to you.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Ken. Thanks so much, man.
You're welcome. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, and I was with Ken. When I saw the bill from Massey, it gave me Ron Paul vibes. Ron Paul for years, audit the Fed and the Fed. It's not going to happen under the government we currently have. It's not going to happen with the Senate in the state that it's currently in. But let's start laying the groundwork. So hopefully, if Republicans do capture the House, do capture the Senate at some point during Trump's presidency, we can make some of these things happen. I think that if we get a Trump presidency with a Republican and with a Republican House and Senate, it's going to be far different than the first time that happened. Far different. When Trump had full control as he was getting into office, it was controlled by the wrong guys, i.e. Paul Ryan. So things could change. Things can change. In the meantime, we're stuck with a president who can't speak. He can't talk. And the White House has to go back and make corrections to his speech. Constantly. They're constantly cleaning up the transcripts, which is funny. They don't want to give us the audio of the Robert Hur interview, but when you see what the White House does with these transcripts from just regular speeches, it's like, I wonder what was cleaned up in the transcript with Robert Hur. Because at the NAACP dinner on Sunday, the White House had to make 9 corrections to Joe Biden's speech, to the transcripts. In the official transcript of the speech, the White House crossed out 9 words where Biden either made a factual or a pronunciation error. 9 times. At the very beginning of his speech, at the very beginning, he was telling a story about Barack Obama sending him to Detroit during the pandemic.
And when I was vice president, things were kind of bad during the pandemic. And what happened was Barack said to me, go to Detroit and help fix it. Well, poor mayor, he spent more time with me than he ever thought he was going to have to.
Said during the pandemic, Barack Obama said, go to Detroit and help fix it.
Barack said to me, go to Detroit and help fix it.
So this is crazy because it's like with our president, I'm trying to think like what what mental state was he in? What was he thinking about? And I started to remember, was it like bird flu or swine flu was happening during the Obama presidency? Maybe he got something confused in that area, right? Like
Ebola, was that a thing?
I don't think it was a thing. It was like H1N1.
Yeah.
H1N1 was a big thing.
Gotcha. Yep.
I know you were what? You were in middle school.
Yeah, literally.
Jeez.
Literally.
They tried to gas up that H1N1. They really did. So I'm thinking maybe it had something to do with that. Then the White House comes back and they make a correction and they just changed the subject. They crossed out pandemic and corrected it with recession. It's not even the same ballpark. That's not even in the same line of thinking. And the White House thinks it's okay. No, listen. He said pandemic. He meant recession. What? And we just let this guy get away with that? That just no big deal. No big deal. Moments later, Biden told the NAACP that he was humbled to receive this organization. In the transcript, the White House crossed out organization and corrected it with award. It's like, okay. It's like we have a president who can't think, can't speak. I almost just want to give him a pass on that one. It's like, Joe. It's like, I feel bad.
Receive this organization.
I'm so humbled to receive this organization. Then it's like, it gets even funnier. It's like, he tries to make a joke, that everybody's having a good time. We're cracking down on corporate landlords who keep rents down. Everybody's like, what?
Not in my household, not in my neighborhood.
No, because prices are too low. Way too low.
We understand that prices, again, are too low.
So the White House went back and they changed it to we're cracking down on corporate landlords to keep rents down. Not on corporate landlords who keep rents down. Unbelievable. There's more. There's more. Remember, he said this.
He calls the insurrectionists who stormed Capitol Hill patriots.
What?
Calls the insurrectionists who stormed Capitol Hill patriots.
The White House corrected that to say insurrectionists. Insurrectionists. Then moments later, he's trying to push the hoax again, the bloodbath hoax. He's got to push the bloodbath hoax. He can't even get the bloodbath hoax right. He has teleprompters, and he said bloodshed instead of bloodbath with the teleprompter. With a teleprompter. Then he mistakenly claimed to have saved millions of families $800,000 a year in premiums when it comes to health insurance. $800,000 a year, millions of families. The White House went back and corrected that to $8,000 a year.
Come on, man.
What are we doing with this guy? This is the guy that's supposed to debate Trump? This guy?
Bingo.
There were 9 big mistakes, but there's so many small mistakes in the transcript that the White House had to correct. Like when he said inspirizing instead of inspiring.
Oh, inspirizing.
Or different times where he said have instead of are, or when he said the NAAC instead of the NAACP.
Forgot.
How do you forget that? How do you forget the initials? Seriously, serious question. How do you forget the initials when that's the first organization you ever joined?
And I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. Matter of fact, the first organization I ever joined was the NAACP.
Moments later, he forgot the P. Okay. This is our guy. This is who the Democrats are going with. Unbelievable. And then they'll go after Trump. But Trump, to his credit, listen, he's at a rally. Did you see this video? He's at a rally and the podium is like, it's wonky. It keeps leaning. Did you see this?
I have not.
Okay, so he's at a rally. The podium's wonky and it keeps leaning, and it's like, I mean, it's not put together very well. Like it's just waving in the wind.
Whoa!
And I'm thinking Biden would have fallen over with the podium. So Biden can't make a speech without the White House having to correct the transcript. Trump, on the flip side, he's dealing with a wonky podium. Could you imagine Biden turning that into a moment like this?
But Americans are not struggling. You know, this is the worst platform. Who put this stage up here? This is the worst. The frickin' place is falling down. I notice it keeps tilting further left. Like too many other things. What a crappy contractor this was.
I mean, but he turns that into a moment. Biden wouldn't be able to recover from a wonky podium. Biden would have fallen over with the podium, and the White House would have corrected it and said the president was laying down the entire time. He did not fall. He did his speech from the ground.
Keith on the Members Nutrition Super Text line says podium was part of the Build Back Better program.
Yes. Fact check true. Fact check true. It's 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My man Eric in Morristown has a comment on editing Biden. Eric, hang tight. We'll get to your call next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
All right, 40 westbound is still down to one lane there at Spence Lane because a crash is blocking the left 3 lanes. That is 40 westbound at Spence Lane. 1 death and dozens injured after turbulence on a London to Singapore flight. And a decorated Fort Campbell soldier identified as a homicide victim in Clarksville. Former President Trump's defense rests its case in the hush money trial. All this and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Real quick, my man Eric in Morristown is on hold. He wants to add some comments to the editing of our resident-in-chief, Joe Biden. What's up, Eric?
Hey, good morning, man. Thanks for taking my call, man. I sincerely appreciate it. Hey, real quick, why is anyone tolerating this? Our government is lying to us.
Yep.
Now, that goes without saying, right? Okay, I'm not saying it.
Is water wet, Eric?
Yeah, roger that. Hey, roger that. But just think about this. We are allowing our money to be managed by a private banking institution.
Yep.
And no, very few people, less than 10% of the population realizes that. We are being lied to by, I'm stuttering here, by basically government employees editing in order to prop up a political perspective of the president of the United States, the office of the president of the United States, not the person, the office. This isn't like World War II, loose lips sink ships. Hey, don't say anything about Oppenheimer. This isn't, how should I say, maybe it should be more like the Vietnam era, if you will, running SOG ops into Cambodia. There's certain things we shouldn't necessarily know about.
Yep.
But when we're being lied to directly from the White House, the political arm of the White House, people really need to take a gander at what's going on. These are the same ideologues that are teaching queer theory to 5th graders that's saying that it's okay to do whatever you want to. All right, these are the same people that are saying, you know what, you're an evil person, you should be arrested because you're speaking up at a school board meeting.
Yep.
Okay, this isn't Iraq of the 90s when you had Baghdad Bob sitting there and everybody made a joke about it. Oh, look, there's no Americans here. As, American airborne troops are being, you see them silhouetted in the background landing in, downtown Baghdad or whatever. This is serious. I'm taking it serious. I may seem a little bit hyperbolic here. I may seem a little, histrionics or whatever, but this is serious. You are blatantly being lied to by the government of the United States of America on such a simple thing. What else are they lying to you about?
Amen. And it's so 1984. Don't believe what your eyes see. Don't believe what your ears hear. We'll tell you the truth.
Roger that, man. Hey, thanks for taking my call, man. Have a good day.
Anytime, Eric. We always appreciate you calling in. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen, if you think the White House covering for Joe Biden at the NAACP dinner was bad, wait until you hear what he said at his Morehouse College commencement speech and what made the students turn their back on him. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And former President Trump's defense team has rested its case without Trump taking the stand in the hush money trial in New York City. This was the former president before the proceedings calling for the judge to rule in his favor.
And I think the appellate courts can take care of a lot of things, but this one shouldn't even get to an appellate court. This should be an easy ruling.
Closing arguments expected next week after Memorial Day on Monday. Right now in Nashville, a suspect is in custody for allegedly stabbing a tourist in the neck because he wouldn't give him money back on March 31st in Walk of Fame Park. Channel 4 says investigators spent a month talking to witnesses, going over surveillance video before arresting 33-year-old Gerald Sanford late yesterday. A decorated Fort Campbell soldier has been identified as a homicide victim in Clarksville. The body of Private First Class Katia Duenas Aguilar was discovered at her home on Tiny Town Road. Anyone with information or video footage has to call Detective Hafinga at 931-648-0656, extension 5684. Private Duenas Aguilar joined the Army as an information technology specialist in 2018 and was honored with 2 Army Achievement Medals, the Army Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Army Service Ribbon. 1 death and a number injured on a London to Singapore flight that encountered severe turbulence. We get the latest from Tom Rivers at the foreign desk.
Tracking data shows the Singapore Airlines flight sharply pitched and dropped 6,000 feet over 3 minutes. The Boeing 777 then diverted to Bangkok. The general manager of the airport there threw a translator.
Most injuries were some cuts on the head. It was chaotic, but most of the passengers received small injuries on their head.
The single fatality, a 73-year-old British man with a possible heart attack.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Waiting to see some updates come out on this hush money trial. Both sides resting. It's going to be interesting. Does Trump get convicted in this? I don't see how he could. After yesterday, I mean, Cohen stole from Trump. How can anybody believe anything their star witness has to say? The news was covering this yesterday, the exchange between Cohen and Trump lawyers, where he admitted, yeah, I stole some money from the Trump org.
Let me read for you the exchange between Todd Blanche and Michael Cohen. So you only gave him $20,000 and you took $30,000. Blanche, you stole from the Trump organization, right? Cohen says, yes, sir. Blanche goes on later on. He says, you did steal from the Trump organization based upon the expected reimbursement, correct? And he says, yes, sir. So again, that is breaking it out because essentially they walked through what it is that Michael Cohen actually paid Renfridge. And this goes back to, Jose, what you were just talking about, in this brown paper bag, all cash. He came to the Trump organization, an individual who worked for Renfridge, to collect this payment. $20,000, which Michael Cohen paid out to this individual. The other $30,000 Michael Cohen kept to himself. Subsequently, why Todd Blanche is now saying, okay, so you stole from the Trump organization, correct? And Michael Cohen says, yes, correct. I believe what during this cross we're trying to get at essentially here is even during this time in which Michael Cohen contends that he was very loyal to the Trump organization, protecting the former president, protecting his boss at the time, a man he has worked with for so long, right, since 2007, who is seen more as a father figure even, that he would then subsequently steal from him because he felt as if he was not getting the appropriate bonus that he was due, that he was expecting. Guys, certainly a big exchange there, I have to say, a momentous kind of exchange between Michael Cohen, Todd Blanche. Michael Cohen says, yes, I in fact stole from the Trump organization.
Yes, I stole from the Trump organization. How can anybody believe anything that he says? Anderson Cooper and CNN, they were covering this as well. And they played a clip inside the courtroom of Michael Cohen on TikTok yelling expletives and saying that he wants Trump to rot in jail. This is the prosecution's star witness. How can they honestly believe that this guy is telling you the truth, the jury, that is?
But it was a moment of it was played in the courtroom today, and it was so fascinating because, you know, Michael Cohen's testimony has been very even-keeled. Even demeanor. Very rational, very, yes, ma'am, no, sir, all this. And suddenly they played this thing, and there's a guy screaming in the room, like, using expletives.
No, it's just normal Michael.
No, it's just regular. But first of all, as somebody who does a podcast, I was like, is this his actual normal speaking voice in a podcast? Because it's literally yelling, and it's clearly written down because he's speaking in a way that's not. So he's written down these yells. Like, it's got to be all in caps. I mean, it was shocking. I was like, it was...
Between that, just the volume of him and compared with his very calm demeanor, that was, I also was like, whoa.
I mean,
I feel like Michael Cohen is falling apart right before our eyes, and this is their star witness.
The courtroom, I don't know if somebody turned up the volume too loud. I was like, is this intentionally too loud? Oh, wait, I'm told we have a clip of the podcast. Let's play it, and play it loud because it was quite loud in the
This is the clip of Michael Cohen on TikTok where they said, you know, it was very loud in the courtroom.
In the courtroom, I got to tell you. Let's hear it.
Volume. I truly hope that this man ends up in prison. It won't bring back the year that I lost or the damage done to my family, but revenge is a dish best served cold. And you better believe I want this man to go down and rot inside for what he did to me and my family.
That's Michael Cohen. They played that in the courtroom. So they played that in the courtroom. They also have him admit on the stand that he stole money from Trump. How does this end in anything other than Trump being vindicated? And if Trump is convicted of this, everybody is going to laugh at that conviction. They're going to laugh at it. Even CNN went on the air and said, listen, Michael Cohen stealing from the Trump organization is actually a more serious crime than Trump's alleged falsification of business documents. That's their senior legal analyst, Eli Honig, on Monday. He said that Michael Cohen, he fell apart. He's more guilty of it. He's guilty of a more serious crime than those that Trump is on trial for having alleged to have committed. The CNN senior legal analyst said Michael Cohen explained this whole thing. That's what was owed, and I didn't feel Mr. Trump deserved the difference. So he pocketed the difference. Unbelievable. It's crazy. But we're all seeing it, and even CNN sees it.
Yeah. The way this was raised and addressed on direct is what Julia Louis-Dreyfus would call yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's what Michael Cohen said.
I think that was George Costanza.
No.
Oh, was it?
It was Elaine.
It was Elaine.
Really? Yeah.
It was Elaine on yada, yada, yada.
Let's debate it longer. I like this.
Here's the direct.
See, you hear CNN trying to get off topic because they know how bad this is for Michael Cohen. Like, let's talk about Seinfeld.
That testimony, the way Michael Cohen explained what happened.
It's actually a girl that Stanza was dating. But okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there you go. Michael Cohen explained this whole thing, quote, "That's what was owed, and I didn't feel Mr. Trump deserved the difference." That's a lot different than I stole $60,000 from my boss on the transaction at the heart of this case. And by the way, the fact that he was never charged with larceny is important because stealing $60,000 through fraud, which would be larceny in New York State, is more serious of a crime than falsifying business records.
This is
more serious of a crime than falsifying business records. And he admitted that on the stand. You stole money from the Trump organization? Cohen replied, yes. What are we doing here? What are we honestly doing? Why is this sham of a trial still going on? Well, it's because the other guy can't campaign. He has no record to stand on, so they have to demonize Trump. And this is all they got. If they had anything real on him, we would have seen it by now. Because everyone on the left, the mainstream media, it's get Trump at all costs. So they get some guy who's their star witness, who steals from Trump, has a personal vendetta against Trump, wants to see Trump in jail, and here we are. Well, both sides rest. Trump doesn't testify. Where does this go from here? Does it matter where it goes from here? Does it change your opinion? If Trump is found guilty, is it going to change any minds? If Trump is vindicated, is it going to change any minds? 615-737-9986. I don't think the outcome of this sham of a trial is going to change anything. I think everybody's made up their mind. And they've made up their mind because, well, we've heard enough from Joe Biden. We remember how good it was under Trump. They'll continue to go after him. They'll find new things to go after him about. Like the new one today. He said there's going to be a new Reich. Did you hear that? Trump reposted a video, and he didn't make it. He didn't make it. But the Trump is now being accused of saying that there's going to be a new Reich. So Trump found a video that somebody posted, and he reposted it in teeny tiny print in the back, which is headlines are laid over old World War I newspapers, new headlines laid over old newspapers. There's a 3-second clip in the back where it says a new Reich. And they're saying, see, Trump is promising a new Reich. So they know they're losing, and they're already trying to move on to something else, like the bloodbath, like everything. And Gen Z influencers are leaning into this. Harry Sisson. Do you know Harry Sisson? He's people say he's a popular TikToker. I think he's a Democrat operative. He's going all in on this.
You have to see what Donald Trump just posted this evening. I'm at a loss for words here. Trump posted a new ad foreshadowing a second Trump term that says he will create a unified Reich.
For the record, it's not a new ad. It's a meme that somebody posted. Trump didn't make this. The Trump campaign didn't make this. It's a meme. And is Trump supposed to look in the background and find every little thing? Oh, can't post that. Somebody might get the wrong idea. Well, that's what this kid thinks. And he also wants you to think that Trump produced this ad himself. He didn't. It's an internet meme.
Echoing the Germans from World War II, if you're catching my drift. And here's a screen.
I love how he explains that. Oh, the Reich.
Oh, yeah, wink, wink.
I thought he was referencing something about Portugal. What are you talking about, kid?
Screenshot from the ad, and it says, "What's next for America?" But if you zoom in, right under there, it says the creation of a unified Reich. Right there. Oh.
It's an old newspaper that they overlaid a new headline on. Trump didn't produce it. Trump's calling for a new Reich.
And they didn't just do it once. They did it twice.
Total 3 seconds. Total 3 seconds in this minute-long clip that Trump reposted on Truth Social. You know what else he posted? He posted a video of him hitting a golf ball, and it knocks Biden a couple different times, and he falls up the stairs. Do you know what I mean? Trump is reposting things all the time. Was somebody wearing a mean T-shirt in the background of the golf video that we need to be aware of also, Harry?
Here's another screenshot from that very same ad where it says MAGA. And if you zoom in under that as well, it says a unified Reich. Oh, and before Trump supporters try to write this off, the Germans in World War II were known as the German Reich.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
I had zero clue that was a thing.
This is fascinating.
My mind is blown.
I'm learning something. We're learning. So Trump must be, he's calling for a new Reich. Also, I'm sorry, isn't it the left protesting Jewish kids on college campuses and Israel's right to defend themselves?
Bingo.
Weird how that works out. But it's Trump. Trump is the one that wants the new Reich. Okay.
That's what they were identified as. That's the same word that Donald Trump just used in that ad. Look, Donald Trump and the Republicans aren't trying to hide it anymore. They're putting it in front of our faces. They are telling us what they want to do in their ads.
But again, it's not their ads. It's a meme that Trump reposted. So, okay. Why are they doing this? Well, they have to be like, Trump is evil. Trump is racist. We have nothing else to stand on. And Biden goes around all weekend. He's at the commencement speech from Morehouse, the HBCU. He has students turning their backs on him. Biden knows he's losing support from all these groups, so they have to go back to the well and paint Trump as an evil racist, a bigot, all these things. And how dare he repost a meme? How dare he? Trump is now Hitler again. Because that's what they're going to campaign on. Trump is Hitler. That's what they have. It's crazy. But Biden goes to Morehouse, and he does exactly what his little surrogates are doing, like Harry Sisson. He pushes racial division at Morehouse. This is Joe Biden. This is what he says.
It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy?
Black men are being killed in the street. That's the angle.
Congrats, kids who just graduated, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, you graduated from a historic HBCU. You have all the tools in front of you to go live a prosperous life. Joe Biden wants to know that the moment you leave, you may be hunted in the street.
Black men are being killed in the street. What is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
I mean, are you kidding me? The racial division that is coming from the left. Trump reposts a meme. He's literally Hitler, guys. I'm shaking right now. Joe Biden can say something like this. The media won't cover it at all. That's all he can lean on is division and hatred. He doesn't have a record to support it. But, I'll tell you this much. Black voters are not buying it. I have audio from a bunch of black voters, even ones that like Biden, say, he's lost me. He's lost me. I got more audio on the way. Hang out with us. It's 10:20 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 90 degrees today. 90. If you've been holding out putting on your AC, today's going to be the day that you do it. You're going to break. I'm telling you that right now. And if you haven't gotten your AC maintained the right way, the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, well, you're waiting for a problem to pop up because that thing's going to be working today. And if you haven't gotten that maintenance, well, your unit may not be in tip-top shape. I tell you got to get your maintenance. I didn't get mine. I was telling you to do it, and I wasn't practicing what I preach, and I had a problem pop up with my AC. I had dirty coils. It's embarrassing to admit it, but I got to tell you the truth. Luckily, though, I'm a Beehive member. You can be a Beehive member, too, and for just $99, you get the same kind of service I got. You get front-of-the-line service. So when I had a problem pop up with my AC, my friend Joe Henry from Busy Bee was at my home in less than an hour. Plus, being a Beehive member comes with that annual maintenance. 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your heating, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your plumbing. If you have problems with your AC unit, you're going to get a 10% discount on all repairs. A $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000. Plus, when you're a Beehive member, you get no overtime or holiday fees, and you get exclusive Beehive member promotions. That $99 to join the Beehive Club, man, it pays for itself. It's a good investment, and it'll get you that tune-up if you've been kicking the can on doing it. Become a Beehive member today. Busy Bee, they'll always come see you on Saturday for those convenient availability hours for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be stuck waiting all weekend long for your AC to be repaired. They're your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Got road work getting in the way in Wilson County. That's going to be 40 westbound at Alexandria Highway 141, exit 254. And new developments in the hush money case in New York City. Tell you all about it at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button, I'll follow back. Plus, you can take us with you wherever you go. iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app. And if you miss anything, we podcast all the segments, like my interview with Tim Burchett earlier on Thomas Massey's bill to end the Fed. That'll be on the podcast. You can find those on Apple or Spotify. All the things. We have all the things. So Joe Biden, all weekend long, he's pandering. He's pandering. He knows he's losing the black vote. So he goes to give a commencement speech at Morehouse College, and he reminds the students that black men are being hunted in the street. Well, how is that message resonating with black voters?
Biden, I really feel like he making everything harder for everybody. Got everybody jump through hoops, just do extra things.
Biden's making things harder for everybody. Yep. That's not just black Americans, that's all Americans. But he's worried about losing the black vote. And black voters don't seem to be too fond of him.
He wants to make it seem as if he's for the blacks, and he's not really, because he hasn't really helped anybody. And I don't like the fact that he's even sending weapons to Israel when it's people here that still need help. And I hate to say this, but people that are immigrants that's coming here, their first day here, because I work in the medical field, they already have Medicaid. And there's people here that are still on the list waiting for it. So.
I like that lady. And I agree. Even her point about sending weapons to Israel, we're funding foreign wars and our country is falling apart. Absolutely falling apart. There's a theme with a lot of these voters that the Palestine-Israel thing has really tipped the scales, and they're against Biden. Maybe they don't support Trump, but they definitely don't like Biden because of that. And this is why he's out there and he's pandering, because he knows he's losing voters.
I think he's fine, but I think he's getting a little up there in age.
Even the guys that like him, I think he's fine, but he's getting a little up there in age. A little? A little.
I feel like the black community don't really like Biden because, like, when I go on the streets and stuff, when I talk to my homies, they don't really be Biden like that. You know what I'm saying? They say Biden really ain't do nothing. They really like Trump better. I ain't gonna lie, because Trump had the money coming in.
It's about the economy. Now, let me translate. It's about the economy. It's about the economy, stupid. Black Americans are hurt the first because of Biden's policies, whether it's open border or inflation. Low-income earners are hurt first because of this. And this is why Biden is losing the vote. It's why he's going out to Detroit. It's why he's going to Morehouse College. He knows. He knows what time it is.
I liked him and what he stood for up until this whole thing with Palestine. That kind of messed it up for me in a lot of ways.
He's losing voters. Even if they liked him. Joe's lost him on the Palestine-Israel situation. And you can feel how you want to feel about that, but that's a good thing for us. Alienate all your voters, Joe.
He could try again another time. Yes, he could take a break, you know. It doesn't make sense not to give someone else a try, you know. And then they're trying to arrest Donald Trump, but they don't really have anything on him.
No, they don't have anything on him, but that's the only thing that they can do is go after him. There was one guy, man, he had a rant. He had a rant that is just epic. Absolutely epic. This guy goes off on Joe Biden and the state of the economy. Listen to this.
Where the is our money at?
I could stop it there. I mean, that's the perfect encapsulation
I don't think you need anything else. I think you're good.
Of how people feel.
Yeah, that's pretty much on.
When it comes to Joe Biden. Oh, no, it gets so much better. And for the record, I beeped what I had to, and I deleted a lot more F-bombs, okay? But I beeped what I couldn't delete.
Where the is our money at? White House was unable to track $6.2 billion sent to Ukraine. California was unable to track $24 billion for combat homelessness. You're unable to track $2.3 trillion for military spending. Treasury was unable to track $5 trillion for pandemic spending. But they know exactly where your 133 funky ass dollars at, huh?
Where's the lie?
We need explanation because we know it ain't going back in our infrastructure. Our country look like a third world country for the amount of money that's coming out of our tax dollars. Our city should look like Dubai. Our small town should look like Utopia. Our city should look like the cities of the movie Fifth Element. And some of you soft is gonna be like, why he's yelling? Because we getting robbed. That's why.
Why he yelling?
Nice Fifth Element reference, though.
You like that?
Yeah, that was nice.
Why he yelling? So we're getting robbed.
It's gonna be like, why he's yelling? Because we getting robbed. That's why. When you add all our day-to-day taxes up, they're taking over 50%. The other 50 cent is out there paying bills, treating us like we nothing but peasants. Y'all pushing our buttons. The American people will soon realize that we don't have beef with one another any longer.
You ready for the best part? He calls for...
There's something better than that?
Yeah. There's something better. If you like the Fifth Element reference... He calls for the American people to form Voltron.
Y'all gonna around and make the American people form Voltron. All my white American form the left leg. All my Asian American form the right leg. All my black American form the right arm. All my Latin American form the left arm. And Donald Trump forms the torso.
It's 10:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Former President Trump's lawyers have rested their case without Trump taking the stand in the hush money trial in New York City. So now the judge has set closing arguments to begin next week after Memorial Day on Monday. Those closing arguments set for Tuesday. We've learned that a 73-year-old British man died and at least 30 other people were hurt when a Singapore Airlines flight from London hit severe turbulence. The Boeing 777 plunging suddenly 6,000 feet. And here in Middle Tennessee, a decorated Fort Campbell soldier is a homicide victim. Channel 4 says officers responded to the home in the 900 block of Tiny Town Road for an ambulance call just after 8:30 Saturday. They found the body of Private First Class Katia Duenas Aguilar. Anyone with information or video footage is asked to call police. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Gonna be like, why he's yelling? Because we getting robbed. That's why. When you add all our day-to-day taxes up, they're taking over 50%. The other 50 cent is out there paying bills, treating us like we nothing but peasants. Yeah, pushing our buttons. The American people will soon realize that we don't have beef with one another any longer. Y'all gonna around and make the American people form Voltron. All my white American form the left leg. All my Asian American form the right leg. All my Black American form the right arm. All my Latin American form the left arm. And Donald Trump forms the torso.
Maybe Joe Biden is unifying America. Just against him. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, 1036. 5565 said, who was that guy talking about Trump? I'll retweet the video. The account Wall Street Apes had it, and that they're a great Twitter account. But if you want to see the video of that guy going off, go to my Twitter, at Chris Hand on air, because that is one for the ages. You know, it does seem like Joe Biden is he's unifying people. He's unifying us against him. I just retweeted it, so if you want to see it, at Chris Hand on air, we're going to form Voltron and hopefully win the election in November. But we're seeing this all over the place. The polls reflect it. Joe Biden's losing support in so many communities, Black, Middle Eastern. It's unbelievable. Young voters, the students at Morehouse College, Martin Luther King's alma mater, mind you, they turned their back on Joe Biden during the commencement speech. Students turned their backs on Biden. I remember the military doing that one time. At least a handful of graduates are seen in photos with their backs turned, according to a post on Twitter by a pro-Trump super PAC. Some of them seem to be signifying solidarity with Palestinians. So maybe they're not going to vote for Trump, but I'll tell you what, they're definitely not going to vote for Biden. The press pool that was traveling with Biden acknowledged that they saw students turn their back during the ceremony. They acknowledged it. And we're seeing this time and time again. Bill Maher, he said he didn't like Biden's commencement speech. He went on Fox News and he was talking about it. He said, I think it's not helpful talking about Biden's speech at Morehouse. First of all, it was anarchistic. That speech would have made sense some years ago. I think we should acknowledge that racism still persists and we should always be making remedies for it. But we're not in the past. Amen. Biden wants to push victim mentality on people. The left wants to push victim mentality on people. But it's not working because you can tell me, hey, you know, you're a victim and the right is racist, and they go, listen, we can't afford groceries. And that's all Americans. That's not just Black Americans. That's Asian Americans feel the in-store prices. That's Latino Americans feel the in-store prices. But they still try to divide on the left. They try to push that divisiveness. It's not working. It's definitely not working among Black voters in Philadelphia. It's amazing to see headlines like this, waning support among Philadelphia's Black voters, because just a few years ago, we would have never seen anything like this. There were Black voters interviewed in Philadelphia. I played some of the clips. They don't want Joe Biden to remain president. And this echoes the polling we've seen that's been done by the New York Times. This echoes a lot of recent polls. And the recent Times report revealed that out of nearly, 24 residents interviewed in a predominantly Black neighborhood in Philadelphia, only 8 were committed to voting for Biden. Small sample size. I'll give you that. But the concerns echo what we all feel. Immigration, rising cost of living, a perception, and I'll argue that it's truthful, Biden's prioritizing foreign conflicts over domestic issues. I loved what that guy in that epic rant said. You know, he's like, why don't our cities look like Dubai with the amount of taxes we're paying? Why don't our small towns look like utopias? Why am I driving down the road swerving around potholes with the amount of taxes coming out of my check? To be fair, Biden still holds a lead among Black voters. But the polling is not in his favor. A CNN poll found that Trump is currently polling at 22% among black voters, which is historically high. And I think that's a gross understatement. In the 2020 election, Trump received just 9% of the black vote. 9%. That's a 13-point swing. 13 points. And even the guys that are in power in Philadelphia, like City Councilman Isaiah Thomas, they highlight the ongoing challenges for Biden's campaign. Philadelphia City Councilman Isaiah Thomas said it's going to be easy to convince people. It's going to be easy to convince people not to vote for Trump, but it's going to be hard to convince people to vote for Biden. These are two totally different fights. Well, the only way that they're going to convince people from voting for Trump is saying, he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a criminal. And guys, we've seen this movie before. We've seen this before. Jasmine Harris, Biden's director of black media, emphasized that the campaign is actively targeting black voters. They actively are. And they're targeting them with division like we saw at the Morehouse speech.
Democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy?
Never forget you're a victim, right? You have to be a victim. I can't wait for these debates. Can't wait.
Trump's going to build Voltron.
Trump's going to build Voltron. And you know who would be a surprising ally in the build for Voltron? Cardi B. Cardi B. You remember Cardi B got dragged by Candace Owens?
Yes.
During the last presidential election? I think it was during the last one. It was
pretty sure,
right after.
Yeah,
right
Cardi
after.
B and Biden zoomed together.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
She was out campaigning for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's been feeling it. And now she's on record saying that she regrets voting for Biden. Says people got betrayed by his politics. I think that accurately reflects where the black community is at. You may have voted for Biden. You regret it now. I think a lot of Biden voters feel that way. Not just black Biden voters. And rapper Cardi B is on Instagram. She's on social media saying, I got betrayed. Yep, sure did. And in an interview with Rolling Stone, she told the reporters that she will never be endorsing a politician again because she endorsed both Biden and Bernie Sanders for the presidency. And under Biden, she's felt layers and layers of disappointment with his policies. Layers and layers of disappointment. I feel like people got betrayed, she added. It's just like, damn, y'all not caring about anybody, she told Rolling Stones. Then it really gets me upset that there is solutions to it. There is a solution. I know there's a solution because you're spending billions of dollars on any effing thing. Yep. Billions of dollars out the door. Not in your community, for the border of Ukraine or for other foreign conflicts. And people feel this. America's paying for endless wars for countries that have been going through bleep, she says, for a very long time. There's countries where kids are getting killed every single day, but because the U.S. won't benefit from that country, they won't help. I don't like that America has this superhero cape on. We never did things to be superheroes. We did things for our own convenience. Yep. Nailed it. They're still, Biden will get out there and be like, oh, Donald Trump's going to bring back slavery. It's like slavery's still happening. But, it doesn't help the military industrial complex to go fight that kind of stuff.
Bingo.
So we can be the military, we can be the world police, but only when we're benefiting from it, right? Only when it's enriching politicians. Because there's a lot more money in the rebuild of these countries than there is in the actual war. That's what they're eyeballing. But she ended by saying she won't be voting for Biden or Trump, telling Rolling Stone, I don't bleep with both of y'all bleepas. So I hope that you can...
Come on, man.
I hope you can figure that out. I think she secretly wants to vote for Trump.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It sounds like
it. It reminds me of when Nicki Minaj was agreeing with Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
And people went on her about that. And then she was like, it's my opinion.
That was about the vaccine.
Yeah. But it just seems like these artists who are... Everyone's like, you should be a left-leaning person are now aiming closer to the right.
Yep. And we see among independent voters, Trump leads by 11. This is according to a Harvard-Harris poll. That's big. And that's with an actual third-party candidate in the mix. That's with Robert F. Kennedy. Trump still maintains his lead. Brings in 43% of the vote. Crazy. I hope that these polling numbers reflect what's really going on, or at least underestimate it. You know, CNN's Fareed Zakaria was on the network last week, and he's talking, about the polls. He said, listen, they underestimate Trump. They don't overestimate him. So I hope that they're still underestimating him, because the new national polls, they look good. They look good. Trump sees a lead margin among independent voters at 11%. And the Harvard CAPS Harris poll found that 49% of voters nationwide would cast their ballot for Trump, 43% for Biden, 8% unsure. The vast majority of GOP voters obviously are casting their ballot for Trump, while 4% said they would vote for Biden, which makes me think you're probably not a GOP voter. I don't know why. How could you call somebody a GOP voter and they'd say that they're going to vote for Biden? It doesn't make any sense, but this is the Harvard poll for you. Not much Harvard's done lately has made any sense. A larger amount of Democrat voters said they would cross the aisle and cast their ballot for Trump, 8%. And additionally, 47% of independent voters said they would vote for Trump, compared to 36% who said they would vote for Biden. The numbers are in Trump's favor. It seems like the culture and the momentum is in Trump's favor. And it seems like for the most part, it does seem like the mainstream media is coming around to this a little bit as well. We see so much on CNN and MSNBC about this trial, and they point out Cohen isn't the best star witness. They point out that there's no real case. And now mainstream media networks are joining Heritage Foundation, Judicial Watch, in a FOIA request for the DOJ to release Biden's special counsel interview. ABC, AP, CBS, and NBC have all joined in the FOIA request for them to release the audio of that interview, which is amazing, because when we talked about earlier, the White House will change the transcripts to lie to the American public. They did so with Joe Biden's NAACP dinner in Detroit, and were things changed in the transcript of the special counsel interview? There's only one way to find out. And I like that ABC and AP and CBS and NBC are joining in Judicial Watch's and Heritage Foundation's FOIA request for this. They say these recordings will help the public evaluate Her's decision not to charge Biden and to close the investigation into classified documents found at Biden's former office and private residence, in the garage by the Corvette. Very safe spot. But to see a large group of news outlets joining Judicial Watch and Heritage Foundation suing Biden's Department of Justice for the release of the audio of the special counsel Robert Her's interview with him, this feels like a move in the right direction. And it feels like, I don't know, I don't think the media is fair, but it's a step in the right direction. This is good. This is good for Trump. Will it happen? We'll find out. But among those suing the department under the FOIA Act, ABC News, the Associated Press, Bloomberg, CBS, CNN, Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, NBC News, Reuters, Univision, and the Washington Post. Whew. I think we might get that interview. I'll put it at what? I don't know. 37%. A little bit higher than it was last week. But, the Biden administration will do anything they can to protect their Manchurian candidate. It's 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. I was driving around over the weekend and I was listening to his show, the Investor Coaching Show. We run it every Saturday from 3 to 6. Great show. You learn a lot, but you learn even more from sitting down and talking with Paul. I can guarantee you that, because I learned a lot from his show, and when I got to meet Paul, I realized how little I know about financial planning and investing for my future. Paul knows a lot. He's been hosting his Investor Coaching Show for over 20 years, but before he even started that, he spent time studying under an economist who went on to win a Nobel Prize. That's how Paul got his feet wet in the industry. And he's an avid collector of financial planning designations. He has up to 8 now. So my wife and I would listen to Paul's show. And when I got my show here, I knew I wanted to work with Paul. And it's because his team holds themselves to the highest level of fiduciary status. Because of that, Paul wants to start off the relationship with you on the right foot. He says, Chris, tell him you get paid to do the commercials. Be transparent. Be honest. I like that, and I will be. I get paid to do the commercials. I don't get paid to be a client, though. I did that because I knew Paul was the right guy for the job. And his team, I mean, let me tell you about his team. They do nothing on commission. They focus on education, and they'll educate you every step along the way so you never have that uneasy feeling of blind trust. Here's what they'll do. They'll sit down with you, and they'll look at your whole financial picture because your financial picture is going to be unique to you. And after they do that, then they'll start helping you make decisions. But it starts with a 15-minute phone call. I want you to set up your 15-minute phone call with Paul's team today by going to paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in New York City,
the defense has rested its case without the testimony of former President Trump in his criminal hush money trial in New York City. The judge excusing the jury till next Tuesday ahead of the long Memorial Day holiday weekend. Closing arguments expected first thing next Tuesday morning, with Trump charged with falsifying business records to cover up a payoff to porn star Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged sexual encounter between the two. The judge.
I have a phenomenal case. We've won the case by any standard. Any other judge, he would have thrown this case out. Any other judge would have thrown this case out.
Former Trump ally Robert Costello wrapped up his time on the stand today after angering the judge yesterday with his conduct, staring the judge down, reacting with the word geez to some of his rulings, rolling his eyes. Joining Trump in court today, his son Don Jr., his first court appearance in support of his father.
That is Derek Dennis reporting. Right now in Nashville, a suspect is in custody for allegedly stabbing a tourist in the neck because the tourist wouldn't give the suspect money back on March 31st in Walk of Fame Park. Channel 4 says investigators spent a month talking to witnesses and going over surveillance video before arresting 33-year-old Gerald Sanford late yesterday. Death in midair. Flight SQ-321 from London to Singapore encountered severe turbulence and was diverted to Bangkok, where 18 passengers were hospitalized. Gio Benitez has more.
This was a Singapore Airlines flight from London to Singapore, and we're told that just about an hour and a half before landing, right over the Andaman Sea, the Boeing 777 hit severe turbulence, again killing at least one person, injuring many others. Singapore Airlines saying in a statement it offers its deepest condolences to the family of the deceased.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.1104 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. What's up? Hey, how are you? Doing good. Thanks for asking. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Take us with you wherever you go. iHeartRadio podcast, the iHeartRadio podcast, the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, and then you get the podcast on Apple and Spotify. We did podcast the interview with Tim Burchett. If you missed it, Tim wants to end the Fed. He's supporting Thomas Massie. Great interview with Tim, as always, and he schooled me on some local Nashville eats, in particular Arnold's. So I know where I'm going for lunch. Thank you to Congressman Tim Burchett. Find that podcast if you didn't hear the interview. I found something that I didn't hear over the weekend, but I caught after the fact on Twitter, which is Twitter's awesome, for the record. Marco Rubio, did you hear this on Meet the Press? Marco Rubio, he was saying all the right things on Meet the Press. And I don't know. I liked it a lot. And then I found myself thinking like, this guy a plant. So I want to know what you think about this. 615-737-9986. It started, they were talking about abortion. And Rubio just absolutely schools Kirsten Welker on a federal abortion ban. That was her gotcha moment. This is what the Democrats are campaigning on, more abortion, because they can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about, peace through strength. They can't talk about competency. So abortion.
Federal abortion ban.
Well, I'm pro-life, and to me, this is not even a political issue. I understand it is for a lot of people, and I understand this is a divisive issue in our country, and not everybody shares my views on it. But I believe that human life is worthy of dignity and protection, and I support laws that protect our unborn human life. I always have, as I've done in the past. When people talk about a federal abortion ban, what they're talking about is the 15-week ban, which Lindsey Graham sponsored and I have co-sponsored in the past. That law is less restrictive or identical to virtually every country in Europe except for 2.
I love the way he puts that, because they always say, it's a federal abortion ban, it's radical. He's like, guys, this is in line with what most of the Western world is doing. And the Democrats are the radical ones. The independents seem radical. The middle of the road candidate, RFK Jr., he's fine with it, with full-term abortions. He said that to Sage Steele during an interview.
It's up to the woman.
My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have government involved.
Even if it's full term.
Even if it's full term.
That's the guy in the middle. I mean, so those are your choices. If you're pro-life, if you're religious, the Dems want no limits. The middle ground candidate wants no limits. And Rubio's out there defending this on Meet the Press, and he's like, listen, it's the Democrats who have the extreme position on this.
Now, the extremists here are the Democrats. Not once, but twice, they have voted in Congress to support a law that basically has no meaningful restrictions. They claim it does, but it has no meaningful restrictions. And I think if we are indeed in this republic, which is what we live in a divisive issue like this, where everybody's views have to be taken into account, it's very difficult to find, if there is such a thing, an arrangement at the federal level with people who basically will not vote for any meaningful restrictions on abortion.
Well, of course, the restrictions would be after 21 weeks. But let me ask it to you this way. Donald Trump
No, that's not accurate. I'm sorry, that's not what that bill did. No, I'm sorry, but that's not what that bill did. That bill, it didn't say anything about doctors. It said practitioners. So it didn't have to be a doctor that makes this decision. It didn't say anything about a reasonable harm. It's just a good faith. And so basically, even if it's remote and unlikely, you could still say, and it's not even about, by the way, in the law that they had, it's not even about the life of the mother, it's about the health. So it could be a nurse practitioner or a nurse, or healthcare practitioner, someone needs to define that, and it can be for virtually any reason. So I understand what they claim the bill did, but in practice, that bill had no meaningful restrictions. It was, in essence, a vote, not once, but twice, from Democrats to have abortion at any time for any reason.
And Rubio points out how they warp the language. Like, yeah, that's what they say, but let's dive a little bit deeper. The language there doesn't actually say that. And Kirsten Welker pushes back on that, and Rubio just goes gloves off and shreds her. And I think this is one of those subjects where Rubio really excels, because I honestly believe that he's telling you the honest truth, and this is how he really feels. And when Kirsten Welker pushes back, he just shreds her.
Let me just note, though, that less than 1% of abortions take place after 21 weeks. Let me just ask you, though, this way.
Then everybody should be in favor of just ban. If they're so rare, then let's just ban them all after 21 weeks. Why are they fighting so hard on that?
that argument always comes up. Well, what about rape and incest? Like, okay, well, if we put that in there, will you vote for it? And it's always like, no, how could you? Okay, if it's 21 weeks, let's do that.
Well, because usually if they happen, it's because there is a crisis with the health of the mother. Let me ask you, though, Donald Trump says
no, but if there's a crisis with the life of the mother, a real crisis, that every bill has that restriction in place.
Yeah, nobody is saying that the mother should die for the baby. Like, we understand that there are extenuating circumstances, and that everybody understands that. But if the baby is viable, why abort it? It makes no sense. So at this point in the exchange, Kirsten Welker sees no path forward, right? She's losing this argument. You can tell by the way she's stuttering and falling all over herself.
Well, because
she knows. So she changes the subject. And she says let's talk about election results. Okay, perfect. Can't win that argument. Let's talk about election results. And that's where she wants to take the conversation.
Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter what happens, Senator?
No matter what happens. That's the important qualifier. No matter what. Okay.
No matter what happens? No, if it's an unfair election, I think it's going to be contested by either side.
Senator, no matter who wins.
I think you're asking the wrong person. The Democrats are the ones that have opposed every Republican victory since 2000. Every single one. It's Hillary Clinton.
No Democrat has refused to concede. Hillary Clinton conceded. Senator, will you accept the election results?
Hillary Clinton said the election was stolen from her and that Trump was illegitimate. Kamala Harris agreed.
Senator,
we have Democrats now.
Senator, she conceded the election.
But they forget Russia.
She said that Trump was illegitimate. She said that the election had been stolen. Kamala Harris agreed. By the way, there are Democrats serving in Congress today who in 2004 voted not to certify the Ohio electors because they said those machines had been tampered with. And you have Democrats now saying they won't certify 2024 because Trump is an insurrectionist and ineligible to hold office. So you need to ask them. I think have you ever asked a Democrat this question on your show? I bet you've never asked a Democrat that question.
I mean, he roasts her.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Yep, he roasts her. But she brings up a point. She says, Senator, you certified the 2020 election. You did. And I want to know if you think that disqualifies Rubio from being VP. Because I know a lot of people in Middle Tennessee still hold that against Blackburn. They still hold that against Haggerty. Would you hold that against Rubio? The donors, the rumor is that the donors want Rubio as the VP candidate. So I ask you, does him certifying the 2020 election kind of eliminate him from contention in your eyes? 615-737-9986. Because you ask voters about Blackburn, you ask voters about Haggerty, they still bring up the fact that they certified the 2020 election.
You voted to certify the 2020 election, and here is what you said on that day that you voted to certify the 2020 election.
Yeah. Democracy is held together by people's confidence in the election and their willingness to abide by its results.
So by your own definition, are Donald Trump's claims undermining Americans' confidence in democracy, given that he has not conceded the last election, and he just said in recent days twice that he won Minnesota, Senator?
I think what undermines people's confidence in the election is when you have places like Wisconsin with over 500 illegal drop box locations, when you have places like Georgia where liberal groups are paying people $10 per vote. No, but listen, what undermines elections is when NBC News and every major news outlet in America in 2020 censored the Biden laptop story, which turned out to be true, not Russian misinformation, unprecedented. Only you couldn't even talk about it on social media. They would deplatform you. People look at all this. They look at what happened in Arizona, 200,000 ballots that had the signatures didn't match. People will lose confidence, and it opens the door to this.
I have to jump in here, Senator.
So, I mean, he makes some good points.
She's a snake there.
Did you hear that?
She was a snake.
Yeah, she did that. She's like waiting to get in.
Yeah, just like... And she they just think you're just rattling.
Is Rubio too establishment though for you? 615-737-9986. I want to get your opinion on this. because he certified the election. I know. How many times do people say they don't like Haggerty and Blackburn because they certify the 2020 election? All the time. He says a lot of good things. I like his stance on abortion. Is he too establishment to be VP? Do you think so? And when he brings up the what undermines our elections, I mean, he goes scorched earth. He nails it.
I think what undermines people's confidence in the election is when you have places like Wisconsin with over 500 illegal drop box locations, when you have places like Georgia where liberal groups are paying people $10 per vote. No, but listen, what undermines elections is when NBC News and every major news outlet in America in 2020 censored the Biden laptop story, which turned out to be true, not Russian misinformation, unprecedented.
Also the Ashley Biden diary.
Only you couldn't even talk about it on social media. They would deplatform you. People look at all this. They look at what happened in Arizona, 200,000 ballots that had the signatures didn't match. People will lose confidence, and it opens the door to this.
I have to jump in here, Senator.
Yeah, and we couldn't talk about it. We couldn't talk about it, or we were banned off social media. Weren't allowed to have that conversation. A lot of people on the Members Nutrition text line saying Rubio is too establishment for them. A lot of people. He makes good points. He also says that, he did certify it. He certified 2020. And he says there was nothing else he could do at that point.
You voted to certify the election. And
because at that stage in the process, you have no options.
Senator, you voted to certify the election. Nothing has been censored on this program. Hillary Clinton.
Did you guys cover the laptop for Joe Biden in 2020?
Absolutely, we covered the laptop.
It was banned. You couldn't even talk about it in social media.
Chris Krebs, the top election official,
you couldn't talk about it in social media. It'd be deplatformed.
Also, did NBC really cover the Hunter Biden laptop story?
I giggled a little bit when she said that. No, they didn't. They said it was wrong.
Yeah, misinformation. Joe Biden said it on the debate stage. It was misinformation. Rubio said there was nothing he could do at that point. He had to certify the election, which I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. If you think that the election wasn't on the up and up, why certify it?
You couldn't even talk about it because they said it was Russian disinformation.
Senator Rubio.
Voters in many cases didn't even hear about it because it was blacked out by the media.
We did cover the election, and just to note that Chris Krebs, who was a top Trump election official, called it the safest and most secure election in recent history. Senator Rubio, we are out of time.
Of course we are, but I'm telling you that if it's unfair.
I love it. But Senator, we're out of time. He says, of course we are. Of course we are. But she says, your Trump guys said it was the most safe and secure election.
Senator Rubio, we are out of time.
Of course we are, but I'm telling you that if it's unfair, we are going to do the same thing Democrats do. We're going to use lawyers to go to court and point out the fact that states are not following their own election laws.
But the Democrats,
hopefully we'll have a fair election,
and it'll be unquestioned. Senator, all those cases were brought to court cases and lost, and there was no proof that there was any widespread fraud, as you know. But I appreciate.
I never used the word widespread fraud.
I'm sorry. All right, Senator Rubio, thank you very much. I appreciate.
He never used the word widespread fraud. You don't have to say that the election in 2020 wasn't on the up and up. Andy and Franklin, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Andy?
Yeah, I would say that he is too establishment. He also, if he didn't have all the knowledge in 2020 that he had today, then he should say that and admit, hey, you know what? I was wrong. You're right. I did vote to do that. And if I could do it over again, I would not vote to certify the election because I can see all of the things that have gone on. At that time, I made a bad decision. So, yeah, both things can be true.
Fair, but when have you ever heard a politician say, hey, you know what, I was wrong?
Never, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, I appreciate your call. Who would be your dream pick?
J.D. Vance. I also like, what's her name? Oh, gosh. She was the press secretary.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yes, thank you.
Andy, those are the only acceptable choices. I appreciate the call, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, of course. Those are my picks. I like J.D. Vance. I like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I don't think Rubio's the guy for the job. Also, they're going to run into the weird Florida stuff, correct? Like the same reason that people say DeSantis wouldn't be VP because Trump and DeSantis are in Florida. You'd run into the same issues with Rubio. There are rumors that the donors want Rubio. I don't know. I don't see it. But you do see him out here. He's definitely trying to make his case. He's trying. Maybe it's a little too late for Rubio. Was it Little Marco? Is that what Trump called him? Little Marco. Mike in Morrison, what do you think about Rubio?
Well, I got to agree with the last caller. He's a little bit establishment, and if he doesn't agree, if he didn't know back then what he knows now, he should just admit it.
Yeah, I'm with you, but a politician admitting they're wrong is not something we see every day.
No.
Hey, appreciate your call, Mike. Thanks so much. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. On the way, I do have a thought on what the next game plan for attack on Trump might be. I have an idea. And it has to do with audio that I've been hearing from former CDC director himself, Robert Redfield. I'll tell you about that and more. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Trump's team rests its case. Closing argument set. Details coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was just, during the commercial break, I was just trolling Mac. So I'm on Twitter at Chris Hand on Air, and Mac is a big Chiefs fan. I don't know if you guys know that about him. Mac is a big Chiefs fan. This guy, Andy Reid, followed me on Twitter. So a local Andy Reid, not that Andy Reid. So I went in there and I said, Mac, you're never going to believe this. Andy Reid just followed me on Twitter.
I was like, what?
Mac couldn't believe it.
I was like, no way. Big Red follows you before me?
And then I showed him. He's like, he doesn't even spell his name that way.
That's not correct spelling. That's a baseball player of some sort.
I thought the sports confirmed it. Are you sure?
I don't know if Andy Reid knows what Twitter is, but I like to think that he follows you.
Yeah. I also got a tweet from somebody. Will you talk with @ChrisHand on air about your support for Trump's unified Reich? Somebody tweeted at me and Burchett about that.
Oh, really?
From that meme video earlier?
Yeah.
Yep. I talked about it. It's like Trump's using Nazi rhetoric. It's like your supporters are barring Jewish kids from going to class.
Bingo.
Is that weird? I don't know how to explain that. People. But I think I know what the next plan is for the left to go after Donald Trump. And I felt this for a while, but after hearing audio from Robert Redfield, the former CDC director, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. So we've had some stories coming out recently about what's been happening with the COVID vaccine. We had Chris Cuomo going on News Nation saying he was injured by the vaccine. Now the former CDC director, he went on Chris Cuomo's show and he's calling for acknowledgement of significant side effects from the COVID vaccine. Yeah, I was shocked to see this as well. And I think that it's something that we need to take note of. Robert Redfield went on Chris Cuomo's show and he says there are significant side effects from the COVID vaccine. These are his words, not mine. The former director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention said any official warning of potential side effects of the COVID vaccines were canceled. Canceled. Yep. We saw that happen. And he says nobody wants to talk about it. But he says we have to be honest. Some people got significant side effects from the vaccine. And I think that this might be one of the plays to demonize Trump yet again. You know, it was Trump that did Operation Warp Speed. If you can knock Trump for anything, a lot of people lean on Operation Warp Speed. But let's be honest, Trump's not a doctor. He didn't develop the vaccine himself. And if people are getting significant side effects from the vaccine, like Robert Redfield lays out on Chris Cuomo's show, how is that Trump's fault? I think that the left will try to blame this on Trump, but I think that we'll have to point out Trump didn't mandate it. Trump didn't say you have to get this or you're going to be fired from your job. That was Joe Biden. But I have audio from Robert Redfield. There's been a bunch of stories coming out about this, including the fact that the NIH has finally admitted taxpayers funded gain of function research in Wuhan, after they've been denying it for years. New York Post had this story. At long last, National Institutes of Health, the NIH, Principal Deputy Director Lawrence Tabak admitted to Congress last Thursday that U.S. taxpayers funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China in the months and years before the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Tabak asked Rep. Debbie Lesko out of Arizona, did the NIH fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology through EcoHealth, which is a Manhattan-based nonprofit? He goes, it depends on your definition of gain-of-function research. If you're speaking of the generic term, yes, we did. So they were funding the research in China. where the virus came out of. The response comes after more than 4 years of evasion and denial from federal public health officials, including Lawrence Tabak himself and former National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Director Dr. Anthony Fauci. You probably remember Fauci about the controversial research practice that modifies viruses to make them more infectious. Tabak added that this research, the generic term, is research that goes on in many labs around the country. It is not regulated, and the reason it's not regulated is it poses no threat or harm to anybody. So you're funding the research at the lab where the virus escaped from, and they say it poses no threat or harm to anybody. I got that audio from Dr. Robert Redfield on the way. Hang out with us. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in New York City, former President Trump's defense has rested its case in the hush money trial, sets up closing arguments on Tuesday. Ahead of court this morning, the former president called for the judge to rule in his favor.
We have a phenomenal case. We've won the case by any standard. Any other judge who would have thrown this case out. Any other judge would have thrown this case out.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responds to the International Criminal Court chief prosecutor seeking an arrest warrant for him for the war in Gaza.
It's not serious. He's out to defame Israel, and he's also pouring gasoline on the fires of anti-Semitism that are spreading around the world.
Netanyahu says Israel has enabled 20,000 aid trucks to go in to help Palestinians. They've fixed the road beds to enable those trucks, and 500,000 tons of food and drugs, saying Hamas is the one that is looting these trucks while we're enabling them to go in. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
those of us that tried to suggest there may be significant side effects from vaccines, we kind of, like with the rest of your show that you had early on, we kind of got canceled because no one wanted to talk about the potential that there was a problem from the vaccines because they were afraid that that would cause people not to want to get vaccinated. The reality is, I was part of Warp Speed. These are important vaccines. We saved a lot of lives. They're important for the most vulnerable people, those over 65 years of age. They really aren't that critical for those that are under 50 or younger.
Not critical for those that are under 50 or younger. Under Joe Biden, though, you couldn't go into a pizza shop without your Vax card in New York City. And in fact, they kicked a little kid out of a pizza shop. Do you remember that? I remember that. Never forget. Vaccine passports, all the things, right? Don't let them memory hole what they did. They fired members of the military, about 7,000 of them, because they refused to get their vaccines. And that's the former director of the CDC saying, yeah, it probably weren't that important for people under 55.
They really aren't that critical for those that are under 50 or younger.
Yeah. But these are things that you and I knew. If you've been paying attention, you understand this. But there's a lot of new COVID vaccine admissions coming out, right? Regarding things that a lot of people have suspected or some will say they've known for quite a few years now. Why are they doing this? I think they want to demonize Trump on Operation Warp Speed, and I think they want to lean in and try and peel away some of his voters to say, yeah, he's not great either. And you know, if you're gonna ding Trump on anything, you can ding him on Operation Warp Speed and the rushed efforts for vaccines. But it wasn't just him. This was happening globally. And we just saw the AstraZeneca vaccine withdrawn from the market. And they say it's because of rare side effects. And we see the increase in myocarditis. And we see the increases in pericarditis. We see all this stuff. It doesn't get discussed about on the mainstream news. It gets swept under the rug. But we see it. And I think what we just saw here is a moment that we need to acknowledge. This comes weeks after Chris Cuomo admitting that he got injured from the vaccine. Now we have the former CDC director, Robert Redfield, calling for acknowledgement of significant side effects to the COVID vaccine. His words, not mine. This is the guy that worked for the CDC. He was one of the top dogs.
They are also, we have to be honest, some people got significant side effects from the vaccine. I have a number of people that are quite ill, and they never had COVID, but they are ill from the vaccine. And we just have to acknowledge that.
We do. We do have to acknowledge that. The mainstream media won't acknowledge that. The Biden administration won't acknowledge that until it's convenient. And I think that they're going to try and use this to hurt Trump. I don't think it's going to work. I just don't think that they have anything else left in the bag. And you could point to Trump and say, he's the reason that there was a rushed vaccine. I don't think it'll work. John in Lebanon thinks that they're going to try something different with Trump. What's up, John?
Good morning. I think that this is purely my opinion here, something I've thought about, that the Dems are going to come out with an October surprise. And what they're going to say is that, we got it completely wrong, that, yeah, that's right. President Trump was elected in 2020, and it was a complete sham. But if you go to the 22nd Amendment, it says that no man could be elected more than twice. It doesn't say served. So they're going to say, well, he can't be elected again because he was already elected twice.
I feel like that would be a hard one to get through.
Oh, yeah, it'd be really hard, but I would never put anything past a liberal.
Well, but on the 22nd Amendment, it says no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once.
You're right, but just because he didn't serve the second term doesn't mean he wasn't elected.
But he didn't hold the office more than twice.
I'm just saying, like I said, this is my opinion, and I just wouldn't put anything past the liberal.
Could you imagine the meltdown, though, if the Dems came out and said that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But again, what about all the things that we should have melted down in the past?
Yep, I get it. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Exactly.
Hey.
Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Nothing the Democrats could do would shock me. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely.
This one might. This one might, John. I appreciate the call, man. 615-737-9986. I mean, they got to do something to go after Trump, right? So what's it going to be? You can't go after him for the way he handled the economy. You can't go after him for starting no new wars. You can't go after him for moving the embassy to Jerusalem. You can't go after him for wanting to build a southern border wall. They've gone after him through lawfare. That's failed. That's failed epically, as evidenced by what's happened with Michael Cohen over the past couple days. Whew. I mean, what else are they going to do? They got to do something soon, right? Donald Trump Jr. was outside the courtroom just a little while ago talking about how disastrous this has been for our legal system for justice in America.
And what it's doing is setting a disastrous precedent for our legal system for justice in America. If it can happen to Donald Trump, and if they will try to do this to someone like Donald Trump with a platform, hundreds of millions of followers, the ability to fight, they will do it to anyone. They have weaponized this system against their political enemies, and they've started to go down a very dangerous and a very slippery slope. This insanity cannot stand. This kind of bias cannot be allowed to happen in the United States of America or anywhere else. If this was going on right now in a third world banana republic, there would be people screaming about it. You people, the media, would be outraged. Instead, because I presume you're fine with whatever the results are as long as it's against Donald Trump, your silence is deafening and it's disgusting. This cannot stand and it cannot allow to continue.
No, but pendulums, they swing, right? So we'll see what happens if Trump gets back in office, if any Democrats are held accountable. But they've been going after him with lawfare. They got to find something else to go after him with because the polls are not in his favor. Biden's, that is. Trump is up in all these swing states. And in Arizona, Trump has the edge because of the economy.
These poll numbers from CBS News are really intriguing. In Arizona, we're looking at the issues of the economy and inflation driving the vote there. 80%, 82% of voters in Arizona, 78%, they say those issues are top of mind. And that's what we're hearing from voters on the campaign trail.
Yep, it's about the economy. Bonnie in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Bonnie?
This is just my opinion. I can't prove this, of course. But I do not think the Democrats are going to let another Republican president serve in the Oval Office. I think they are going to cause chaos, and then they're going to have to call martial law. When you have martial law, you cannot have an election. And that's what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the martial law one is a little bit recycled, and that was what people were pushing in 2020 as well. I'm not.
Well, the thing about it is, if something happened that was bad enough where they could say, look, this has happened, this is terrible, this is not our fault. We have to call martial law. We have to implement it in each state. It would be such an easy excuse.
Maybe. I hope
Democrats will do. We always underestimate Democrats. And a liberal Democrat will do anything to stay in power. I'm 77 years old, and I've seen them do it. One of the absolutely most evil Democrats was from my state of Texas, Lyndon Baines Johnson. And my father, one day, who was from Alabama, he said, never underestimate Lyndon Baines Johnson. And sure enough.
I hear you, Bonnie. I hope you're wrong. And I think that after COVID, after the summer of love, I mean, if that didn't create martial law, I shudder to think what would. And I pray nothing like that comes to be. But we'll see. It wouldn't shock me if they try to do something to win the election. I don't know if martial law is going to be that thing. So we'll see. But the reason we think something might be coming is because Trump is gaining so much support. There was a march the other day from a group called Black Patriots for Trump in the Bronx in New York City. And we never saw this kind of stuff years ago for Republicans.
It's insanity coming out of the Democrat Party. President Trump is the only sane candidate that we have out here that can possibly help us save America.
No, he's right. Trump is the only sane candidate, because the flip side is, more Bidenomics. Do you want more Bidenomics where your credit card debt is outweighing your personal savings? That's what's happening currently right now in 2024.
36% of Americans have more credit card debt than they do emergency savings. This is the second year in a row Bankrate has noticed this happening. It's also the highest number of people with credit card debt versus emergency savings we've seen dating all the way back to 2011. Greg McBride, Bankrate's chief financial analyst, says household expenses have gone up dramatically over the last year. And a lot of times it's been the credit card absorbing that cost.
I mean, prices in general are up 20% in the last 4 years. Things like food prices are up 25% in the last 4 years. So the budgetary strain is very real. And that's had a pronounced impact on both credit card debt and savings. Savings balances that were pretty plump coming out of the pandemic have been run down. Credit card balances that had been paid down during the pandemic have run back up.
And I think that the choice is pretty obvious when you look at the two terms side by side. I think anybody looking at an old grocery bill versus a current grocery bill could see that the difference is pretty obvious. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. It feels good to be back in my normal slot. Matt Murphy,
feels
checking
good
in.
to have you back.
Thanks, man. What's
going on? I missed you.
We had a kindergarten graduation.
I didn't get the memo. You got to tell me these things. I mean, no offense to company, but I'd come in. I'm expecting my hand fix. I get nothing. Nothing.
Sorry.
It's all right. I have a bone to pick with you.
What did I do?
This is a very serious situation.
All right.
You know I love you. Love your show. Love everything about you. But we got a problem.
All right.
We've got a big problem. I was telling McMorey about this problem earlier. We got a big problem.
All right. I'm all ears.
So I'm listening to Nashville's Morning News this morning with Dan Mandis, as I am wont to do. And I wish I had pulled this clip.
Is it about the rage ritual?
No. It's about him using phraseology that he has no business using, and it's your fault. He uses terms like red pill.
Yeah.
With wild abandon.
Yeah. I love it.
And I'm blame you.
Here's the thing that I think is the most fun is if you use those terms, you end up on an FBI watch list for alt-right extremism.
Can you imagine Dan at his house getting a knock on the door from the FBI?
Can you imagine the guy assigned to Dan? So what am I doing here?
He's walking the dog again. Really, the dog's walking him again.
Yeah.
You know, that
Super
kind of thing.
dope.
He's back in the hot tub again.
Zero Res is back over there.
He's watching he's watching Xfinity again. He's got a problem with his AC. Here's Busy Bee again.
Okay.
Churn the butter.
It must be. That would be a pretty good gig. Actually, if you're an FBI guy.
Yeah.
FBI on Mandis guy.
I feel like my FBI agent probably chuckles from time to time. I feel like I'm slowly red pilling my FBI agent.
You think so?
The guy assigned to the case, we share some pretty dope memes.
You know, if I have an FBI guy on me, he knows that I walk around in my underpants quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, more than normal.
We have to ask him to wear pants to the office constantly.
Yeah, that's a regular thing. You watch this Trump thing at all? You talking about this today at all?
I talked about it a little bit. I didn't. So I'm kind of like whatever happens. I'm cool with it.
I'm cool with it as well. I don't see a way, although the judge is putting his thumb on the scale as much as humanly possible, and I'm going to talk about this at the beginning of the show today. This idea that they're going to take a week off before they have closing arguments and before the jury gets the case is an abomination. It is denying Trump a right to a speedy trial, and it is designed to get these people back in their neighborhood so that their neighborhoods convince them what they need to do. Yep. I promise you, their neighbors know that they're jurors on this case.
They want to whitewash the recency bias.
And they want to have the community unduly influence them on how they vote. And it's a travesty, and I don't know if a lot of people are talking about it, but I'll be talking about it today. And it's gross.
So, but you talk with Jay St. Clair a lot. Like you're like in the weeds on that kind of stuff. Not normal.
Not normal at all. And the repair always comes on the back end. But in this case, they don't care about any of that. Juan Merchant doesn't care about anybody overruling him on any future appeal because his goal is to dirty Trump up right now and get something of a conviction. And I don't even know that they're going to do that because there's nothing there. They haven't connected any of these pieces together.
No. And then Cohen on the stand, well, I stole some money from him. And then they play the TikTok on the stand where he's like, I need to get him back for what he did to me.
He has demonstrated himself to be a liar and a thief, and he's the only thing that connects Trump with the thing that they call as a crime, which they haven't proven is a crime.
No.
It's the grossest miscarriage of justice. I mean, I just can't get over it. Maybe I should expect it, but
see, I think the whole thing's funny.
I mean, it's funny because every time they hit him, he gets stronger. He gets bigger. Every time they hit him, he gets bigger.
I wish they'd put him in jail. Imagine the poll numbers.
Shoot through the roof.
To the moon, baby. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Now, the defense and prosecution have wrapped up their cases in the Donald Trump hush money criminal trial in New York. Closing arguments scheduled for a week from today. On what if there's a guilty verdict, ABC's Catherine Falders.
He views this as beneficial in some way. Now, I'm curious to see with any verdict, if he is found guilty here, how that ultimately affects the polling politically, how that affects his money flow. We know that some donors have said privately that they won't give money if he